Hi everyone, welcome back. It's been quite a long time, I believe, that I haven't really created new videos for my YouTube. So today I'm going to show you several tips and tricks in my tutorial video. It's actually about computer forensic and or digital forensic combined with hacking technique. So what I'm going to show you is actually about uh, how to collect the evidence on a live system. In forensic, they call it as live system forensic or live system evidence acquisition. Okay, sorry, something wrong with my throat. So okay, first, I'm going to show you the tools that we'll be using. The first one is this sys internal suite. It was actually created by, I believe, this Mark Rosinovich. Yeah. It was, I mean, the tool was acquired by Microsoft, and you can actually download from Microsoft website. You just search through Google by typing sys internals suite. It's a suite of applications that has a lot of functionalities. Yeah, I'll be showing you on how to use these tools or this suite of tools. The second one is the MD5 command line message digest utility that will be used to create the MD5 what do you call this integrity file. It will generate or even check MD5 message digest. Okay, very useful for forensic. Okay, so now I'll be showing you on how to I'm logging on to my Kali. So what I'm going to show you is to actually create so-called a backdoor that will utilize my word. Yeah, I'll be using this Phoebe script infection method, and I'm going to create the payload. So what I'm going to show you is the process of creating the payload. So let me open up this one, and I have the notes. Just type the cat Phoebe script. Yeah, so this is what we are going to do. We'll just need to run this. Yeah, you can take note on this. Yeah, so I'm going to use the MSF Venom that will create the Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP payload based on this specific hosts and the port, and I'll be using the Shikataganai encoding, and the output file will be in VBA. So let me just copy this and then run this on my terminal. It's gonna take a while. Excuse me for the cough. Okay, so we're done with this. Yeah, the process of creating the VBA or Visual Basic Script for application. So once created, it will actually show you that, okay, this code has two pieces. The first one here is the macro code that will be inserted into our application. Yeah. Oh, I mean the document, like for example Word or Excel that supports macro. And the second piece of this is the data. See this one, which is actually this payload data. So we need to copy this in a body of our file. Yeah, very long one. Okay, right, so let me just show you. Okay, very long. Okay, so let me show you how to create this. So we will copy this macro code and copy. I'm using Windows 7 for my target machine, or yeah, I would say the victim machine. So I'm going to actually open up or create new Word document. Just call it as test file. Yeah. And open up the file and hang on for a while. Okay, so the first thing to do is we need to look at the developer option. Yeah, look for developer option if you're running. I'm actually running my let me see, Word 2019. Yeah, so 2013, sorry. So oops, yeah, I need to reopen this. So you go to the, or look for a developer menu or option or tab here. Yeah, and then go to the Visual Basic, and you can just let me just delete this and paste. This is what the first code, I mean the first portion of the or the first section of the code must be what do you call this, inserted into the application, and don't forget to save it. Okay, so I'll be saving it. Yeah, and the next thing to do is we'll create a text file, I mean Word file. Just put it as test file, and to avoid detection, or perhaps to make it not really suspicious to the victim, what you can do is you can use the insert, let's say perhaps header. Let me see, page layout, where is it? Okay, so you can add perhaps this footer, and this is where we will actually, let me get back to my Kali. I will copy the payload data into the, so I'll copy the payload data into the footer area. So delete and paste and close it. And of course you can actually select all and then change the color to white so that we don't have the footer, and then after that close it. So not really suspicious, right? Yeah, so okay, and then don't forget to save the file, and this is our backdoored Word file. Yeah, meaning that we have the Microsoft Word file embedded with our payload, and of course the Visual Basic script that will be executed when we or when the victim open up the file. Yeah. Next is I'll be running MSF console. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I will create a listener that will listen to a specific port that I have purposely set up. So use exploit multi-handler and set payload. This payload must be the same as the payload that you have set in a previous task, yeah, or the previous step. So Windows interpreter, yeah, reverse TCP. You can set the L host, which is our Kali Linux machine, 252, and set the L port. This L port is a listening port that will listen to the communication or the connection from the victim. Must be the same. 443 and type exploit. Okay. Now, so our listener is ready. So what's next? Next is we'll get back to our victim machine, provided that this is our victim machine that could run Windows 7, Windows 10, or any other Windows. And let's try to double click the file. Notice that I have, yeah, so let me see. If you open up the property of this file, it's just normal file, yeah. But of course, yeah, let's try something. Let's try to upload this file to VirusTotal and see if any antivirus detects this file. So choose the file, and I'll get back to the desktop where I set the test file. Confirm upload and save. So file will be or is being analyzed, and notice that only one so far detected. It says that there's a script OLE dropper, which is actually true, and this the detection is based on the cat quick heal. Yeah. So there's details. We can see the MD5, the file size, the SHA-1, SHA-256, and let's see. Okay. It says that application something something Word, but it doesn't actually tell me the other information or other informations. Yeah, so we have one antivirus that detects our file. Yeah, the rest was they were not able to actually detect my payload. Yeah. You know why? Because the payload is embedded. The payload or antivirus would normally detect the payload when the payload is executed or has been executed, right? So let's double click the file and see what happened. The file will just open, and looks like I have a problem with the file. So let me just click end. Let's see in our site, nothing much. I think there's a problem with the header. So that was my idea to put the header, but let me open up the file, another file that I have prepared. Yeah, so in this demo folder, I've created the same file. We just call it test, but the test here, in the test here, let me just open up. Yeah, looks like something wrong with the file. Let me just copy the other file that I have created earlier on my system. Something wrong. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it was because of the macro file. So let me just copy. Yeah, there's a test file that I've also prepared, almost the same technique. I'm just lazy to troubleshoot the problem. So provided that this is my test file, let's see if it has the same problem, meaning that, yeah, our target is not really running correctly. So the same problem. So let me just delete this and open up the file. Yeah, so yeah, I think there's a problem here. It says that the problem with the macro code. So let's get back to our previous command. Yeah, so cat vd script infection. Yeah, so let me just copy this, and yeah, I have to fix the problem first. Yeah, so let me just copy the payload. Seems to be correct, but let me just copy this. Yeah, copy, and let's just to make sure that we copy the correct one. So let me just write down and put it in a file. Let's say we just call it VBS, and I'll copy this. Yeah, so yeah, see that threat detected by my antivirus. I'll just leave it like that. So I'm going to modify. Let me see. Need to create a new macro. Yeah, so maybe you can just create new macro, view code. Yeah, so paste. We'll just put it as um, yeah. Save this and see if we can actually run it. I'm not sure on this. Okay, so let me fix this problem first, and then I'll get back to you. Sometimes it's not really as smooth as what we think. Okay, hang on for a while. Let me fix the problem, and I'll get back to you. Okay, let's get back to our tests. So I'm still opting my file. So what I need to do is I will select, previously I was selecting this Visual Basic. So I believe that I need to create the macro first. Yeah, so I'll create new macro. Yep. Yeah, for example, just put it as task and select create. And this is where we paste the file that we have created with the MSF Venom, and let's close this and close this, and let's reopen the file. Hopefully, oh, I'm still having the same problem, so don't worry, I'll try to fix it. Hang on for a while. Okay, this is what I did. It looks like there's a problem with the VB script, not the actual VB script, which is actually the problem with the macro. So what I did was to revert back to the original state because I'm running virtual machine. So I reverted back to the original state, and then let's view the macro. So here, this is the correct macro that I have created earlier, exactly the same as what we have done earlier. Uh, Perhaps because I believe that I need to do more, what do you call this, troubleshooting to find out what happened, actually, what actually happened. So anyway, so I've copied the macro and the same technique. So I copied or created the macro that will automatically open the payload. Yeah, and then for the payload, I put the payload somewhere below. So let me just show you. So the payload is somewhere below here. You can hide it by changing, yeah, by changing the color. Yeah, and of course you can actually put it into, let's say, a new page, yeah, that will, and then hide it by changing the color. Okay, okay, just give me a minute. So yeah, to change the color from black, let's say, to something not obvious. Let's say just put it as white. Yeah. Okay, so now on Kali, I restarted my MSF console. So use the same payload command, use exploit multi-handler, set payload, Windows interpreter, reverse TCP, set lhost, our Kali, set lport 403, and exploit to create a listener. Okay, so let's get back to this one. It's not responding. Yeah, sometimes it's just like that. Okay, so let me just minimize, and then let's just open that file. Yeah, so the script is something like this to create the payload for freebie infection method. Yeah, I forgot to copy my other notes because I restarted the machine. Everything is gone. So anyway, I'll just put the live system. So I need to copy this and put it into my desktop here. Yeah. Okay, so these are the notes I use. Let's see, we still, yeah, sometimes the Microsoft Word just does not respond, so I need to end task or shut down this application. Yeah, so just leave it like that. Yeah, okay, so let me just run the code that I have created. I put it in my demo file, backdoor, and then this is the same file that I have shown you earlier. So let me just double click, and looks like it runs correctly. And let's see, wow, we have the Metapletter session open because we have embedded the payload into our Microsoft Word document. Yeah. Of course, you can also use like this one. I have an example of a financial report that would also give you the same result. Yeah, when you double click or when the victim double click the file to open it, it will automatically execute the macro, except if the macro was actually set to be disabled. Yeah, but the problem with the macro is that the macro or macros are used to enable some functionalities in Excel or Word. So most likely the victim will enable the macro. So what we got is this. Yeah. So we got an open session created by our payload. Now, from here, we can just check, let's say sysinfo. We are inside the Windows 7 DST, which is my Windows 7. I could also do other things just to say to look at some information like IP config or maybe PS to see to look at the processes. Okay, now from the that's the hacking. I mean, previously was the hacking technique. Now, from the perspective of the computer forensic or digital forensic, let me show you how to actually do the live system forensic or live system data acquisition or evidence acquisition. So what you need is the previous file that we have. remember that I've shown you the, let me just plug in my USB and select that so that it will connect to my Win 7. Yeah. Okay. And remember earlier I have introduced you to this sys internal suite that will be used to get some information about the system, and also MD5 for the integrity. So let's get back, and so I have made the notes for this. So here, so this is what we are going to do. Let me just minimize this, and I'll open up the Explorer, and so for the purpose of forensic, I have created two different folders. The first folder is the tools that has the MD5 and sys internal suite. So I need to extract this by using, let's say, 7-zip. Extract the file because we'll be using different files to analyze the behavior of the victim machine. And I've also created a folder called evidence that will be used to store the evidence file. So let's check whether we have successfully extracted the file. Now for forensic acquisition, we cannot turn off the machine, the victim machine that was actually infected with, or perhaps became the victim of the become the victim of the hacker. So what we are going to do is we'll start by collecting some information. So let me open up the command line. So here, and let me arrange the size so that you can actually see this. I will postpone this one for a while, and let's just change the font, the size of the font, so that you can see the command. So let's open up, what's the drive? H. Okay, so we have to go to this drive H by typing H, enter, and we can actually go to the CD tools to open up the tools directory where we have the MD5 and others. Let's try to type there to see a lot of tools here. So number one, we'll do the according to this. So we need to run like date, time, and so on. So I'll be opening this one on the right side so that I can type while reading. CLS. Now we will need to put the output to the evidence file that is actually will be stored in a separate folder, which is the evidence folder. So let's type date, then we push to evidence, and we will put the name is the let's say we just call it as evidence.txt. Okay, and don't forget that we need to put the /t, and then push to the output. This is actually to create and add the file called evidence in the evidence folder. Okay, so we start this one, and then we repeat just by changing the command like time, and then you can change like sysinfo. That will, sorry, it's supposed to be system info. Sorry again, I need to remove the T. T, the /T is only used when you type date or time. So we're done. Then we'll move on to changing this. Let's say ipconfig /all, and we change to, let's say netstat AON or AON or AN, it's up to you. So all of these commands are actually AON is not running well, so I need to just put AN. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. 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 So all of these commands are actually being used to collect the evidence from a live system that will show you the system configuration, IP configuration, the status of the network, the open ports, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So let's just run this one by one and see what we have. NBT stat minus n or dash n. Something wrong with that. It's okay. We can just skip R dash A. We just change the command without changing the output. So route print and then task list. And then let me copy this because it's quite long. So just copy this and I'll replace the command. Yeah. And of course, don't forget the evidence.txt. Yeah. This command is actually to grab the what do you call this? The information from a specific location in our Windows registry, specifically current version /run, which is normally used by a lot of backdoors, trojans, and malware. Yeah, to store commands that will be executed when Windows start. Okay, so let me just run another command. So the previous commands are all of those previous commands from this to this. Yeah, so the selected or highlighted commands are actually the built-in command line utilities on Windows. So next we'll be using the this one. All of these are actually the tools from the sys internal suite. Okay, so let's try ps list. Oh, sorry. So I believe that I need to repeat this command, ps list, and then we need to run the ps logon. Oh, sorry, again. Yeah, and excuse me, ps log list, and then ps service, ps file, yeah, access is denied because most likely because we did not run the file with a higher privilege. It's okay, just leave it like that, and then pipe lists, and list DLLs. Now, I would suggest that you explore the command line tools provided by the sys internal suite and check which particular commands or tools are useful for our forensic live system acquisition. Yeah. So once we're done, we will check. Yeah, I forgot to mention that you could actually create kind of script that will allow you to run all of this tool. Let me just copy this. Yeah. So what you can do is you can go to the tools. Yeah, and you can create a new perhaps document. We just call it as, let's say, test. Yeah, evidence. Oh, sorry, just call it as test, so that to make it simple. And open up the file, paste this one. Yeah, so I need to remove all of this. Put all of the commands in a specific file like this one, test.txt, and of course we need to change this to something like this. Yeah, so here, and you can use the Control H to type evidence. I mean, to replace the evidence .txt to evidence.txt. Okay, so just press Control A to replace everything. Yeah, just to make sure that we are actually, let me just delete this. This is just to make sure that all the evidence, I mean, the output will go to the evidence folder in an evidence file. Yeah, so let's copy this. Now the next step is, because this is a text file, it cannot run or it cannot be executed. So what you need to do is just rename this one to CMD. Okay, and let's see what will happen. So previously we need to delete the previous evidence, so just perhaps we can just rename it. We call it as my evidence, and let's run the tool by typing the command and see if we can get the, yeah, so we got this test.cmd, which has the list of all of the commands. Yeah, all of these commands. Yeah, and let's just run this one, test.cmd. See, it will automate the process of creating the evidence file. Yeah. Done. And let's open up the evidence and notice that I have another evidence. Yeah, the size is almost the same. Yeah. Then don't forget that because we have the evidence, and based on the forensic steps, we need to secure the evidence. Let's just open up the directory or folder, go to the evidence file, and you can run the tools. I'll be running the MD5 tools. And to let's just check. Yeah, by default I have evidence.txt. Yeah, and if you look at the folder, I mean the file, let's look at the property of the file. We can actually set up this property to set up the attribute to read only, so that it will only be able to be read. Yeah, but before that we need to set up the MD5 just to make sure that the integrity of the file is maintained. Yeah, so just type tools MD5 xe. Yeah, and you can specify the name of the file and put this as evidence, the name of the output this will actually create the MD5 file of let's just remove this to see the result. So it will actually create the MD5 hash of the evidence. And if you want this to be saved to a file, we just need to put this output, this what do you call this, larger than symbol 2 times, and then put the evidence dot md5. Then you can just type evidence dot md5. And notice that this is my evidence md5, and this is the file name. Okay, and of course the second one is we need to set this file to be read only, or read only, sorry. So let's try to type attrib and the evidence, txt file. Notice that the attribute is only a, which is normally used or what do you call this, specified for a new file. So we'll just type +r to make it read only, and let's open up. See, now if you open up the file by using your Windows Explorer, you can see the evidence file has the property of read only. See this one? And of course this is good to maintain the integrity, so that even if you run the same command earlier, it won't automatically, or it won't change the what do you call this, the content of the file. Let's try again. So let's just type date/t and then put it into evidence.txt. You see what happened? Access denied, right? So now once you're done with the collection of the evidence, or the process of collecting the evidence, let's see what we have in our file. So let me open up. This is the Kingston flash disk that I use to collect the evidence. It is actually recommended to have your own what do you call this, USB flash disk to collect the evidence or to store the evidence. Let's open up by using, let's say, Notepad++. And let me close this. So we got a lot of information. The host name, the date, the time, okay, and a lot of information about the Windows configuration, the IP address, the Ethernet adapter, the active connection, the ARP, lists of MAC addresses, and so on and so forth. Very long one. And the PS commands, notice that I've collected several things here, and I can actually look at the content of my HKey local machine, software, Microsoft Windows current version. And what you need to do is to look for any I would say malicious, or I would say strange content of the file. Like for example netcat or something like that, or perhaps it runs several VB script inside this. So we can also look at the processes running with the PID, so that you can actually search based on the PID. And so very long one. We need to really look at the information one by one. And let me show you an example of the evidence file from my previous I would say lab. So let's look at my so I keep this one in the evidence file, and there's a live system, and then let's open up my evidence by using Notepad++. So this was taken in 2010, and the host name is LANWeb1. There was an attack and simulated attack, and notice that we can see that there's a connection to port 443 established, and the PID is 3388. So let's try to find what is 3388. Yeah, this is the process ID used by TCP view, and if you go search the 3388 TCP view PID, it looks like the TCP view the executable file was actually executed from C Windows System 32. Now notice that TCP view, which is actually this one. Let me just show you the TCP view. So the original TCP view is actually like this, yeah, and this is actually not the Windows internal commands or internal files. So if you happen to see that this TCP view was actually running from Windows System 32 directory, meaning that something is wrong, or maybe the attacker was able to insert this file or upload this file to this Windows System 32 directory, which is supposed to be protected, right? So let's try to look at 3388 again, and yeah, so I found out that and again, if you look at the TCP view, it looks like it runs with a lot of different DLLs, yeah, and most commonly malware would actually run by involving multiple DLLs, okay. And you can also see that I have a cmd.exe that was actually running, and if you look at the file, specifically the registry content, yeah, I was able to find out that you see this one, I've got this from HKey local machine software Microsoft Windows current version run, and I've got the update, but the update seems to be quite strange because it actually calls or calls NC, which is, we know that NC is actually the netcat, the Swiss Army knife tool that can actually do and assist the attacker to upload file and do connection, yeah, like this one. So NC runs with the -LDP, meaning that it's actually waiting for a connection to a specific port, which is in this case 443, and once it was actually connected, I mean, once it is connected, it will automatically execute the cmd.exe. So we found several clues about the probability of probability that the victim machine was actually infected by a backdoor or some kind of a backdoor uploaded and executed by the attacker. All right, so this is something that you need to learn to be able to grasp the evidence from the lab system. And don't forget that you should not and must not turn off the PC that was actually infected, or I would say the victim PC that was actually involved in the attack, yeah, or that was the target of the attack. All right, so that concludes my session today, and hope that you can enjoy my tutorial. So we have discussed about the forensic live system forensic, or live system data acquisition from a particular target or a victim machine that was actually suspected to be infected by the backdoor, or used by the hacker. So this is actually the step-by-step. Yeah, let me just change the font so that you can actually see this better. Yeah, oh sorry, so just leave it like that. If you want to have the list of the commands that I was using or I used in my video, let me know. I will be sending you this what do you call this, the step-by-step. All right, so see you again in my next tutorial. Ciao.